What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 262. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Doing on this?
Whatever day, whenever you're watching it.
Yeah, you can watch it.
Connor, how are you feeling?
Sure, you are.
Oh, I'm feeling fantastic. Just the best I've ever felt in the world. Actually, like, it's not like, so for people who don't know, last night I was at work and my allergies / sinuses started kicking up in the middle of my shift, like when I was busy, which was great. And as soon as I got home, it just got so much worse. Like just sneezing constantly, dripping out of the nose, mucus down the throat. Woke up this morning, it's even worse. You know, not so much with the sneezing, but just the drainage and all that. So definitely tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, I'm definitely gonna have like a shot throat and a splitting headache, and I'll probably have to call out of work once or twice this week, which is always fan-fucking-tastic. But conveniently, all my student loans hit my bank account for the semester this morning. So, you know, money, not as much of a worry. Health, very much worried about it, especially because I'm about to go to school in 7 days. So I need this. If this is going to happen, I need it to come in and come out. I would rather cancer, because then at least I would know that the end is near. You know,
No more allergies ever.
Yeah, you know. Anyways, that's what's going on with me. So if I've got like a roll of toilet paper here, little tissues to blow my nose. So if I get a little froggy in the throat, or if I have to clear my throat, forgive me. No, my nose is already raw. Doesn't matter, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, the Two Penny Gamescast. Each week, me and Connor come to you with the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can catch the show live every Monday afternoon, twitch.tv/2pennygames. We also go live on TikTok, so make sure to check it. If you find us on TikTok, make sure to stop by, say hi, and then visit us on Twitch. Follow us on all of our platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube. Of course, if you can't catch the live stream, this will go up on YouTube and mainstream podcast services of your choice, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Time. Of course, all the stories that we read on the podcast today were written by our very own Connor Elliott, and you can read those stories yourself over at TwoPennyGamesNews.substack.com. A little bit of a different week this week. We're going to get into it here in a second. Connor has been playing the Battlefield 6 open beta, and thought we'd give you some insight on that, so that's going to be one of our topics today. So stick around for that. But first, Connor, let's go ahead and get into our first topic of the day. My first penny of the day: Sony to limit Bungie's independence and shift PlayStation Studio towards platform business. Following Sony's latest financial report that saw them raise its profit forecast by 40 billion yen for the fiscal year, the company announced... Am I on the right camera? I am. Okay, yeah. Sorry. The company announced the refocusing of PlayStation's business model and its absorption of developer Bungie. During an earnings call, Sony's chief financial officer, CFO, forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, one of those days. Sony's chief financial officer, Lin Tao, announced Bungie will be fully absorbed by PlayStation a month after Reddit user Testify discovered pre-orders for Destiny's Edge of Fate DLC were 47% lower than the previous expansion, The Final Shape. Quote, about the governance of Bungie, at the time of acquisition, we were offering a very independent environment, so that was one way of thinking, said Tao in a Q&A. Quote, however, thereafter, we have gone through structural reform as we announced last year, so this independence is getting lighter, and Bungie is shifting into a role which is becoming more part of PlayStation Studios, and integration is proceeding. So in the long term, if you can see this as an ongoing process, the direction is to become part of PlayStation Studios. This comes as another step in an ongoing effort to eliminate Bungie's independence to become a staple PlayStation studio. October and December of last year saw a number of Bungie employees transition into roles at Sony after 2 sets of layoffs in October 2023 and July of 2024. Journalist Destin Laguirre spoke with former Bungie developer who blamed the problems facing Sony on a toxic work culture and a direction motivated primarily by greed. Tao also proceeded to double down on Sony's live service focus, and that despite a slew of canceled titles, past failures like Concord, and ongoing woes in pushing out Marathon, the additional revenue stream created by live service games justifies the transition. Quote, last year, Concord shut down, and this year, Marathon was postponed. So, somewhat negative news has been coming out, said Tao. But if we look at the past 5 years ago, live service games were almost non-existent for PlayStation Studios. We now have Helldivers 2, MLB The Show, and Gran Turismo 7, and Bungie's Destiny 2. So, we have these 4 live services contributing to sales and profits in a stable manner. In the same Q&A, Sony Senior Vice President Sadahiko Hayakawa outlined PlayStation's intent to divert the company's business model away from a focus on hardware. Quote, in the gaming business, we are more moving away from hardcore-centric business model, more to a platform business that expands the community and increases engagement, Hayakawa said. Couple of different things happening here, all right? So we got what's happening with Bungie, we got what's going on with the live services, and then what's going on with PlayStation as a brand. What are we doing here? And in what order do we want to tackle these things in here, Connor? I think we start with Bungie. Yeah. You know, this is a long running story that has been happening for the last couple of years, ever since that weird semi-acquisition happened all those years ago when we were still in my mom's house doing this show. And if I didn't back then, I should have, and I will say it now. It was a weird acquisition. It was a weird thing. We've got this buy-in for y'all, but we're gonna leave y'all be. We're gonna let y'all do what you do. We mostly, it seemed, just wanted to use Bungie as a platform to develop live service games, and as you can tell, that has been a mixed bag of results. We're gonna get into more of that here in a minute.
It's always been weird.
Bungie, that's a weird acquisition, and now we're at this point where it's like, well, Destiny 2, no longer at its peak, which it was when the acquisition at least was taking place behind the scenes before we do anything, right? We've plateaued. Pre-orders are down for this new expansion coming up. I think that's expected. You know, Final Shape was kind of marketed as the final expansion.
In the name.
And so I think it's just hard to get people to care again about that when they considered that last one to be the last one. Which is, you know, a tricky thing. I think also the marketing for this new Edge of Fate DLC just hasn't been that in your face about it. It's been
like they're not confident in it.
Well, I don't want to go that far. I think it's just a smaller update than what we've seen in the past, and I just don't think they've just put really the pedal to the metal in marketing it at all. I mean, the last couple of state of plays, like Destiny's been absent from. So what's going on with that, and why are we doing it now? Of course, they've been having their own events and marketing their game as such, which has been cool. But in terms of like mainstream people outside of the already core audience, we're not getting that update to let us know that these things are happening, right?
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I want to say how we would think that they might move towards Destiny 3 because Destiny 2, it's been going on for quite some time now. Even though it does have, of course, a lot of fame and longevity to it, thanks to the DLCs, it's kind of gotten to a point where maybe you should go to the next title.
I still think they are.
Yeah,
I think these updates are smaller updates to keep that fan base alive and keep that money stream coming in, to keep the profit rolling. I would guess that Destiny 3 is happening. But also, you look at the scope of the industry, what's happening right now in terms of live service games, how we're seeing a lot of failures and very few successes. And when we do succeed, they're great, but do they last a long time? Are they here for all the years? You can only have so many fortnights, in fact, you can have one fortnight, and that's really it. So when it comes to Destiny 2, you now have the tricky thing of, well, there's already a base. They've been here for years. They know they're going to keep coming back, or we know they're going to keep coming back and investing in it. So maybe we dive into that, or maybe we move on to Destiny 3 and try and get the full PlayStation audience on board and into this ecosystem, and hopefully have Destiny become a bit of a spearhead in PlayStation live service games. I'll get to that in a second. Stay on Bungie here for a minute. So I would expect these smaller updates that are coming and happening here, they feel smaller, at least from an outsider's perspective, are to keep that money flowing in, and then while we produce and have a team working on what will become Destiny 3 is what I would expect to happen. Could totally be wrong. They could 100% just double down on Destiny 2.
Well, that would make sense that they're doing that while at the same time trying to take away some of the independence Bungie has enjoyed up until this point, because they wouldn't want to continue working with them until they know they got a little bit more of a stronger grasp around this thing. And it seems like the developers don't really have a problem with that. It seems a lot of the management has been the main source of blame for how Destiny or how Bungie has been in the last couple of years. I can't comment too much on that since a lot of these people who come forward stay anonymous. They don't exactly go into super big detail. But apparently they were trying to make it to where microtransactions were more common in the game. That was kind of shot down, but even so, they've tried to maximize monetization within the game itself as much as possible. So maybe this is a proper way to move for Bungie. I don't know necessarily, though, because PlayStation Studios, clearly they've been trying to go for this live service model, and it just hasn't really worked out yet. You've got Helldivers 2, but that was a luck thing more than anything else. Even they didn't realize how big that game was going to be.
Right.
But you see that as a big reason why they're talking about shifting. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, about why they're shifting their brand away towards community-focused content because of how big Helldivers 2 was, primarily because of the community engagement that the studio was partaking in. But because I remember that was
interesting. I have a different take on that.
You do?
Yeah. So we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But moving into Sony's live service plans and how they've just really not worked out at all. Helldivers 2 was a success, but that's not a PlayStation first-party studio. It's a PlayStation IP, but it's not their studio, right? So you've got complications there. And then, the things they list as successes: Helldivers 2, MLB The Show, Gran Turismo 7, and Bungie's Destiny 2. 3 out of the 4 of those things existed prior to this live service push. 2 of them, I would not have described as live service games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure MLB The Show still comes out with yearly installments. I could be wrong on that end. Maybe they don't,
We're not the sports guys.
Yeah, we're not. Gran Turismo 7, we've seen continued success and updates into that. It's a popular racing simulator game that is on the PlayStation side. But this is also coming off. I'll say, okay, now I know where I'm going. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, when you're podcasting, you figure out what you're saying as you're saying it, So
Really?
We've got the 3 out of those 4 titles existed before your live service efforts. One of which, was a surprise, like you said, Helldivers 2. Awesome. It worked. Fantastic. But it wasn't meant to be bigger than Concord. It wasn't meant to be bigger than Marathon. It happened to become that big, but it wasn't meant to be that. So that's a bit of a tricky success. That tells me your aim is off, your ratio's off. You've got the levels in the wrong places here. Something's not right with how you're producing these things on the back end, right? MLB The Show, Gran Turismo 7, I already said, not really like live servicey games. They're now, things that we are pumping updates into to kind of keep them alive and keep them focused and keep them going, which is great. I've heard nothing but excellent things about those 2 games. And then Destiny 2, not your game.
Mm-hmm.
Just not, yes, you've had Bungie for some years now. Yes, I'm sure you've had a lot to do with funding updates and producing updates with them and so forth. But that is not on you, and it's on every platform, which is another stick that I'll get to here in a second. I just don't like the way you are trying. Tao is trying to spin these 4 games as, okay, yes, we've had some failures, but we've also had some wins. No, you've had a win, and even in that got a little muddled because of your own corporate dealings and forcing this game out of countries that don't have PSN.
That did happen.
XYZ thing, that's really a little bit more murky than how you're trying to spend it. And I'm not one to always want to be negative about these things, but I mean, let's call a spade here. PlayStation has been failing this generation in its efforts to expand its brand into more than just that single-player, narrative-driven focused game. It's almost across the board kind of failed in that sense, with the one exception being Helldivers 2. And then, of course, the games that were already great with Gran Turismo 7 and MLB The Show.
Which, again, stretch to be saying those are live service games. it seems like it's them just trying to tell their stockholders, guys, we got this under wraps. Don't worry about
Which
it.
is 100%
Yeah.
what they're trying to do, right? They're trying
Yeah.
to make it look better for stockholders.
Yes.
Is exactly what's
This
happening.
is all in an earnings call and a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah.
You know the kinds of people that are going to be tuning in for that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, if we really want to talk about it, Destiny 2 has not exactly like flourished under PlayStation as a brand, you know? Like we've had some ups, some downs, some of them come out and they're real good. We also had, you know, what was it? Last Light.
Yes, yeah, that one.
Was it Last Light? No,
Final
it was,
Light?
no. Final Shape was
Final
the
Shape
good
last-
one.
I think it was Last Light, yeah.
Was it Last Light? It had the Buzz Lightyear font on it. Light something. Lightfall. That's what it was.
Lightfall, that's what it was, yeah.
Lightfall, which was heralded as like one of the most underwhelming Destiny 2 expansions. And that was a PlayStation. That's where that ownership kind of layered up. So Destiny 2 has seen better days, you know, when it was prior to PlayStation. So maybe, you know, the tightening of the grip is going to help with the studio, give it a little bit more focus, give it a little bit more support in ways that they hopefully need to kind of get it going and make whatever comes next even greater. But then you look at this marathon thing that is also under Bungie, and you go, oh man, it's got this whole stolen art fiasco. People who have played the game say it's good, but not great. You know, it's kind of forgettable.
The big issue is that it doesn't really draw you in to come over and play again and again and again,
Yeah.
which is the point of these live service titles.
Exactly.
If you fail on that, your game's not going to succeed. And within the comment that Tao made itself, she kind of gives away the game. Those 4 games, because again, when we take into consideration they aren't really live service games in the traditional sense, and they weren't ones that came about through their recent change to try and make more of those types of games, they say it adds an extra revenue stream and makes, you know, sales a bit more stable. It's clear that they see the money that they have, they can potentially make with these kinds of games, and it's why they want to expand more and more and more. And so you got to question, are you just so focused on what you could be getting from this that you're avoiding getting a, you know, proper series of games? Because people have noted, it's the online joke, the PlayStation has no games. You know, of course it has some games.
The PlayStation 5.
Yeah, the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Which, when you compare it to the PlayStation 4, certainly the 3 and the 2, yes, it does seem like it has no games comparatively. They aren't locking in and
Well, they're talking
playing their games.
They're talking exclusive things that you can't get on a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So like they don't count God of War Ragnarok in that stable.
Mm-hmm.
But God of War Ragnarok is a PlayStation 5.
It's
game.
a PlayStation 5
So the
game, yes.
argument has always been unfair
Yeah.
to what PlayStation Studios has done in the last 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
which overall I think has been quite successful. You know, you've had great hits like God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2. I think Returnal was deemed as a success for the scale that game was. And, you know, different things like Deathloop and then most recently Astrobot, you know? But we've just had a bunch of like, ugh, who gives a fuck? Like, also in that. Concord, obviously. Marathon looks to be the next one. A canceled Naughty Dog live service game with The Last of Us.
Apparently a
Didn't
God
work
of
out.
War live service game.
Yeah, God of War by
Strange.
Blue Point. That was a terrible choice. We should actually count our blessings that didn't come out. But it does suck for Blue Point. And so what we have is a couple of titles that several of which you can get on last generation hardware. And then you have remakes and remasters galore. You know, Demon Souls, Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2 remaster, the other ones that you know are happening. So, you know, it just the PlayStation 5 lineup doesn't appear as strong as what we saw in the 2, the 3, in any other generation.
Yeah.
I'll say in all of them. The lineup looks weaker than ever before. And even in that, we've gotten 2 new IPs that look like they're going to be semi-sequelized. You know, what Housemarque is doing, obviously, their new game starts with an S. Saros? Is that it?
Saros?
Saros?
I wanna say.
Obviously not a hardline sequel to Returnal, but clearly going to be sort of a spiritual successor to it.
Yeah.
And so we have that. And then we have Astrobot, which I'm sure they're going to sequelize the fuck out of.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which I want that to happen for that. But other than that, what new have we had for PlayStation 5 that has been like, oh, wow, check this out? Where you look at PlayStation 4, you had the reinvention of God of War. You had yes, sequels and returns to franchises like Last of Us and Uncharted, right? But we also had Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima,
Revitalization of superhero games with Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, exactly, yeah. And it just seemed like we were just on hit after hit after hit, especially in the last half of that generation, where really like they put their foot on the gas really, really heavy. From like 2017 all the way to like 2020. It was every year we had multiple bangers coming out year after year. And I mean, arguably, we are entering that back half, so maybe they're going to start putting the pedal to the metal. But you look at the lineup of what we know of right now, and sure, Marvel Token Fighters looks great. Maybe we'll get Wolverine by the end of the generation. Maybe this Santa Monica game that they keep talking about is going to happen. But so far, we've not had the like big hit other than maybe God of War Ragnarok. But you can also get that on a PlayStation 4. So like, yeah, their lineup looks tricky, which brings me into the last conversation that, or the last talking point of this, where what is PlayStation as a brand now? Now they're saying, hey, we've been a hardware-centric business model to move a platform business that expands to community and increases the engagement. That to me doesn't read as we are going to be community focused. That means we are going to start putting our shit everywhere because we're just at a point where AAA game development is unsustainable. It's impossible to fund all these projects to the scale that we want to fund them and keep it exclusive. But to me, the wall coming down with Helldivers 2 later this month is just the beginning. And we're going to start seeing the Nathan Drake collection move around. We're going to start seeing the Last of Us 2-pack move around to Xbox platforms. And several of these games are already on Steam, but we're going to see more of that go to Steam. We're going to see more of that go to GOG. We're going to try and just put our shit everywhere where it makes sense, when it makes sense. And you're going to start seeing that gap close of typically PlayStation titles, usually a year exclusive, and then everywhere else, or at least to PC later on. We're going to start seeing a lot less of that, where it's probably 3 months, maybe even as dramatic as that. They're probably going to start with something smaller, like 6 to 9 months, and then, but like eventually
play with the range.
Yeah, play with the range because we want you to buy them on our platforms. Of course we do. So I do think we're going to hit that, but at some point does it become 2 weeks and then it's finally coming to Xbox, or it's 2 weeks and it's going to PC and Steam and platforms like that. That's what I see. Is it's not about focusing on community, it's about expanding community. It's about, and really all that means is expanding the possible number of people we can sell to.
Yeah, and I'm satisfied that dam's breaking. They've, like you said, they've always been more protective of their games, trying to be more exclusive. But clearly, that's just no longer the way things are done nowadays. So this is very corporate-y of a statement to say, but as you said, it's more about just making it more available on platforms. And I would assume increase community engagement for some of these live service games that are coming out, because they know that's how they're going to keep getting money from them, rather than just letting them survive or die on their own whim.
Stefan Bambi says, I'm in here for 20 minutes and just realized I never listened to a podcast and I don't know anything about gaming. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, and I see you following Stefan Bambi on that, so that's funny.
Maybe you can start learning about video games.
Now
Maybe
you can with us. So also subscribe to the YouTube, youtube.com/@TwoPennyGames. And I want to remind everybody that we do this show every week, Monday afternoon, twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames. And then it goes live Tuesday, 8 a.m., YouTube and mainstream podcast services. Links are in the description down below. Connor, let's move on to our second topic of the day, your first penny of the day. Of course, that involves Battlefield 6. The open beta has launched to mostly rave reviews, is what I've seen. People seem very satisfied with the product.
Positive.
You've been playing it. It's been breaking all kinds of online records, I think on Steam, right? Is where the records are being broken?
I would assume it was. When I first jumped into the game on Saturday, I was in a queue of about 92,000, and it came out. It got me in very, very quick.
Oh, very nice.
So it's actually been running efficiently, especially as Battlefield standards go.
Right.
Which, notoriously not the most comfortable releases in the past.
Yeah, very often don't launch in the greatest of states. So, I even saw the things of like player counts higher than Call of Duty. So
I could believe that.
I think the hype seems very high for this one. I'm not personally interested. Battlefield's not really a franchise that I find super interesting. But you've enjoyed it quite a lot in the past. It's been a few titles since I think you've jumped in.
Yeah, the last one was 4. I played the beta of 2042, and even then, I could tell that was going to be a rough one. You know, comparing that to this, night and day difference.
Yeah?
Yeah, whereas what's it?
So go ahead, talk to me your experience. How many hours have you put in so far? How much have you been playing? And then, we'll move into general thoughts.
Yeah, I should have looked up my hour count, but I believe it was somewhere around 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
Or so. So I got a pretty good amount of time on the beta. My skill didn't particularly increase, but learning curve. I've been away for a long time. The first thing that you notice is I played on PC. I had to mess with my computer to get it to work. So the key thing is that they have an anti-cheat system, and they require you to enable something called Secure Bot. I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the world, but I had to go into my BIOS, which means you start up your computer and you press the delete button to go into your system settings to turn it on.
Huh?
Some of the settings were already correct, so it was an easy go in, flip the switch, but it definitely was annoying when I was trying to just get in and play the game. But once that was solved, I could actually open it. And like I said before, a lot of people waiting in the queues, but that shored up really quickly, and I was able to get into the game. So a couple of things. It hits you with the accessibility features right off the bat. They're good ones, specifically just for colorblind people and deaf people. Aside from that, maybe they'll have more upon release. They could probably use it to, for people who are more physically impaired, but at least it's inclusive of a large enough people right off the bat. Then you have the couple of game modes. You got your classic Conquest, which is where you have the big battle. You have airships going in overhead, helicopters, tanks everywhere. You're trying to capture point to point to point and, reduce the enemy tickets, basically their lives, until you win. Everyone really knows about that. I'm guessing this one came about because I've been away for so long, in 2042 at the very latest, but it's a mode called Breakthrough, which is kind of, it doesn't involve as many vehicles as it does in Conquest, and rather than give you the entire map, because Battlefield maps are notoriously big, this one's being no exception, it reduces it to just single areas, and it's kind of one group is attacking, the other is defending. The defenders have unlimited lives, the attackers have limited ones. They've got to take it before their lives run out. These games, surprisingly, seem to go longer than Conquest does, which it doesn't advertise it as such. It says it's 20-minute long games. Those are not 20-minute long games. The first game I did was probably about that long, but and it was only it was about that long. It was about that short. Most of them go upwards of around 40 minutes, which is how Conquest is branded. 20, 40 minutes in that range, usually 30 or 40. And very often, the big issue with this game mode was that the defenders had a massive, massive bonus. I won. Actually, there was not a single game in which the attackers won. And it wasn't my skill issue. It was not, because the moment I would go to the attackers, I would lose, of course. But then when I would go to the defenders, I would win, even when I wasn't doing good. Because you just spawn in super quickly. Respawn times are a lot slower, quicker than they are in Conquest. So it's kind of made to where you can get in and do a bunch of gameplay, die, and then get right back into the fray. And a lot of the other game modes kind of serve this purpose a lot better, most notably King of the Hill. It operates the way you expect it to do. It's King of the Hill. But all throughout, it's got Battlefield gameplay. A lot of the previews had said, this is another Battlefield game. It's another Battlefield game. But it's a well-made one, because like I said, there's not really any technical issues I came across, and the betas, let alone the games themselves, when they come out, are usually known to have a lot of technical problems. So I'm surprised and thankful that I didn't experience that many, and it gives me a lot of confidence that when they actually come out with the game, it's not going to have news reels of, people are waiting for the game, they can't get in, they can't boot up the game, whatever issues you might have pop up with those kinds of things. Audio is great. The guns feel good to play. That's why I've always liked Battlefield. Battlefield, it's more gritty than Call of Duty. The trade-off is that you can't usually get in and have an easy time taking down an enemy left and right. You usually have to kind of struggle a bit more and lock in, and only then will you see some kind of positive result and actually start getting kills. So while it can be a bit harder to get in And you certainly would benefit from having a squad, since you can spawn on them whenever you need to. You have equipments like, for example, the sniper has the ability to set a spawn point down so you can kind of get into the battle a little bit quicker, which is very useful for those Conquest breakthrough game modes where your map is pretty sizable, more so with Conquest. Which, to mention that, the return of class-based the return of classes is something that a lot of Battlefield fans who have played the more recent ones, like 2042, are very happy about, because it, I guess, makes it to where people aren't going for the most optimal route whenever they choose a class. But also, it's because whenever I play as the Assault, you get like a shotgun, and you can pull that out. You are really good at clearing buildings, especially good for breakthrough. And of course, it's for the person that just wants to try and get as many kills as possible. But I found that playing as the medic class was super fun. I mean, going across, fields like no man's land effectively just to heal your guy and run back and still survive ends up being very fun and a tense, you're in your own little world and you're contributing really effectively to the team, where even when I would have like 4 kills by the end of a 40-minute long game, because I revived so many people, I felt like there were many moments where battles were entirely dictated by me and the other medics healing people. Of course, you have the engineer who they fix vehicles and destroy vehicles, always useful, though that was the one I played the least with. What seems to be changed the most from last Battlefield classes that I experienced was the sniper. It seems like it's a lot easier to get sniper kills. Now, the trade-off is that there's only, in this beta, I only saw, like in Conquest, 2 maps being used over and over again, which one's more of a, you're in the streets, you're in the city, so there's a lot more narrower, battlefields to have. Whereas the other one's giant open field, you're going up this mountainous area, and so snipers galore. Very often, you would have entire areas of the map just unattainable. You can't go there, because the moment you do, you get shot by snipers. Now, the benefit is you see their light from a distance away.
Which has always been a thing.
Which has always been a thing. So, at the very least, they're not too hidden, but Jesus Christ, it can get overwhelming. Like, you look out onto the enemy side of the field.
That's usually what kills it for me for Battlefield games. It's a spawn far away from the objective, run for 45 seconds to the objective, get shot by sniper, do it again.
Yes, and that's where things like the maps come into play, where City one, I think it was Cairo, was extremely fun because you didn't have that happen. You had a perfect meld of some sniping positions. You can get on roofs, you can get up in the second story of buildings and snipe people going down the street, or in the more open areas of the map. But for the most part, it's a lot more close quarters combat, and so you're better off taking an assault rifle or an SMG or a shotgun to people. And I'm assuming that when we see more of the maps, you'll have that more mid-range area open up. Specifically with Breakthrough, I saw that happen because it had a map that, to my knowledge, wasn't available in Conquest, but it can maybe be a bit hard to tell whether that's the case, seeing as how the modes usually just lock off areas of a larger map. But, I'm excited to see how the map design goes when you get to the rest of the game. There's a nice feature that I like where when you go in to customize your weapon, you have the access to go to the training mode. And because technology has advanced so much that, one of the big brands for something like the PlayStation is slow loading times. And so this allows for you to go very quickly into the training room when you change out some sight attachment and you want to see how the gun performs. You're really able to quickly go in, test it, and change it if you so want to. Guns, pretty good variety of guns. There is a mode that locks weapons to specific classes, so not every single class can use whatever they want. And I don't know if more people play that as opposed to Conquest, regular Conquest. The game itself doesn't give numbers for how many people are in a given a given lobby. Not a required thing for the game to have, but it'd be nice to know what is the popping game. So, for example, I can't remember the mode, but it was a bit of a smaller team mode, basically team deathmatch with points to capture. Those ones had some long load times for the game. I'm saying like 20 seconds as opposed to 3, because again, it's the hot new game. People were playing it a boatload. But at the core of it, it is more Battlefield. It's a clean Battlefield experience, but it's one where coming back to it after so many years away, it's pleasant, and it's a game I see myself buying, but I've moved past the point where I'm just playing hours upon hours of multiplayer games. And so it's going to be one of those ones I jump into whenever I get the itch. which, again, the caveat of not having as low of a skill ceiling makes it to where I'll probably more often than not get the feeling to go into Battlefield and get my shit kicked in. But we'll see when the full game comes out.
Rock on. I have seen to the point of the medic being fun. Obviously, they've brought in that mechanic where you can drag
yes
allies and heal them as you're dragging them, so you can get them out of hot zones and so forth. Seeing a lot of really great TikToks of people, role playing in voice chat of being like, "I got you, soldier. Come on, we're gonna," all that. So there's been a lot of really fun stuff online about that, and just the internet's excited. Which it's always great to see the internet excited in a positive way about a video game. And so if 2020, what year are we in? 2025 is the year where Battlefield makes a comeback. Awesome.
Yeah, and to your point, the dragging people to heal them, that's only accessible to like people on your squad. But one of the issues where there's a lot more revive-centered gameplay experiences is those moments where you'll come across an enemy group and kill a bunch of them, but maybe you get killed and there's like one alive. Usually that is a triumphant moment. You're like, yeah, I beat them. If there's a medic nearby, which very often if you're dealing with large groups of people, there is, they're just all going to get revived. And so there were a lot of combat scenarios in which just kind of nothing happened on my end, regardless of the skill that I deployed. So moments like that can be kind of annoying because it's just, well, did that for nothing. But thankfully, since you can only be revived physically by squad members, it didn't happen as much as it could have. But certainly, the medic is very powerful.
Right.
I do enjoy how they're making the classes just intrinsic to the game and important to win.
I saw one guy playing it like it was Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes.
And so he's like, no, I'm a pacifist. I just go in and I heal people, and that's all I do. And I saw he got to I think it was like top 10 or top 11 highest scored players in the match. And I was like, good for you, man. Look at you having fun the way you want to have fun.
It's more fun than playing medic roles in a lot of other games like Marvel Rivals and Overwatch, which those can still be very fun.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's not get carried away here, Con.
You feel like a soldier, dude. You feel like a guy.
Let's not get carried away.
When I run through a group, I feel like they're not firing at me because of international law. But every now and then, they will.
They're not, though. They're not. You're just not getting shot.
Because it's like the guy's with the defibrillator. He's trying to save somebody. He's not really the top
Absolutely, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't. There's zero chance. Anyways, Connor, we're going to move on to our third topic of the day. This is going to be my second penny of the day. Microsoft pauses production of Avalanche Studios' Contraband. Developers of Just Cause franchise, Avalanche Studios has development of their open world co-op game Contraband halted 4 years after its announcement at E3.
E3?
4 years ago?
2021.
They were still doing E3. Wow, okay. Yeah, that's right. The pandemic killed the E3 more.
I don't know if you remember the trailer, but it's like, I think there were some words being said, and there's that crate that usually would hold like a gun.
It was 100% totally forgot about this game until people started talking about it for this purpose, and then I saw clips of that trailer again. And I went, oh right, that one.
Yeah,
okay.
Game
Files, Steven Sotelo confirmed the title had been in development for 5 years, according to an inside contract, and despite no initial comment from Microsoft or Avalanche Studios, the latter posted to its company website confirming
the fuck. I said, I swear.
You gotta do a last read over. The post reads, quote, over the past years, Avalanche Studios Group and Xbox Game Studios Publishing have collaborated on Contraband. Active development has now stopped while we evaluate the project's future. We're thankful for the excitement we've seen from the community since we announced, and we'll give an update on what's next as soon as we can. Microsoft made massive layoffs of around 9,000 staff employed by its gaming division, mostly software engineering job. Wasn't it 9,000 staff across Microsoft as a whole?
Specifically, it was the gaming division. But
was it?
Yeah. But a lot of it was, as you were about to read, was software engineering jobs.
Okay. So to save costs made to expand the company's AI infrastructure. Layoffs also saw the cancellation of the initiative's Perfect Dark, Rare's Everwild, and multiple unannounced projects, along with the initiative itself. The initiative getting closed down. Yes. Okay. The studio owned by Doom creator John Romero, called Romero Games, would also have multiple projects shut down before the company was announced to close shortly afterwards. Still, source confirmed games Odie, Ninja Gaiden 4, and Asobo were still planned to be published by Microsoft, and that the decision to halt Contraband's production would prevent cuts to the Xbox staff. The game's description on Avalanche website reads, "Welcome to Contraband, a co-op smuggler's paradise set in the fictional world of 1970s buy-in. Brought to you by Avalanche Studios and Xbox Game Studios, and exclusive to Xbox Series S, X consoles, and confirming to Xbox Game Pass. And coming to Xbox Game Pass, Steam, and Windows 10 PC. While the game has yet to be officially and permanently canceled, based off the numerous cancellations, it appears Contraband is next up on the chopping block." Yeah. Listen, Xbox is in a place right now where I just don't know what's going on. It feels like they're always, a step ahead of the curve. And because they're constantly failing on, taking the step that's right in front of them, which sucks, The canceling of Perfect Dark, the canceling of Everwilds, the canceling of the MMO from the Elder Scrolls Online studio was super, super disheartening, alongside, all the massive layoffs that we've had coming down from the top of Microsoft. And alongside that, the shutdown of studios like The Initiative. All of this, it just makes you look at Xbox and go, it just doesn't seem like a stable platform that I would want to invest time or even care into. But, they still have plenty of cool things going on. This has been in terms of software releases, has been a really pretty good year for Xbox Game Studios, with games like South of Midnight, Doom, The Dark Ages. Another one I'm thinking of off the top of my head that I can't.
Claire Obscure, technically. Yeah.
Claire Obscure, technically, through a publishing deal and so
Yeah.
forth. And then, of course, through another publishing deal, they've got Ninja Gaiden 4 coming later this year, which, previews seem positive on that, mostly positive on that. So, that's something to be excited for. But when you just start looking at the long-term plans, it just never feels good to be an Xbox gamer, or it never feels good to be invested in the Xbox ecosystem, because it just feels like
every step forward is also a step back.
it just feels like there's a 50-50 shot on whatever game is being announced will ever come out, and this is another example of that. I don't believe Contraband will ever make it to market. I fully expect the game to just be fully canceled. Avalanche is not owned by Microsoft. Are they?
No, I don't believe they are.
Yeah, so I would expect a Just Cause 5 here in the next couple of years.
But they do,
is what I would expect here, which is unfortunate and that sucks. But it is part of the times. And again, another reason as to why exclusivity has put us in a bad spot, in terms of the modern era of gaming. And I think Microsoft and Xbox has continued to try and expand that thing. We saw sales reporting that, like, of the top 10 games sold in June, 8 of them were Xbox titles, which is great, for Xbox. I think it speaks to what we were talking about earlier, where PlayStation lineup is not that great. But now we're looking at this and we just go, damn it, another one again?
Yeah.
It just keeps coming. Like, ideally, you would have gotten all of this out of the way several weeks ago when you fired everybody. And, and so now we're just, you look to the future of, obviously Ninja Gaiden 4 is coming, right?
Yeah.
But I look at OD and I go, is it coming? I don't know. And if it is coming, is it coming published by Microsoft? I don't know. We'll see. I think it would be a massive blunder to let a Hideo Kojima game go, but
I think that's the reason why they wouldn't. They
Yeah.
want a Kojima game. Kojima's name sells on its own.
it means so much, the Kojima game. And so, yeah, it would be a mistake, but with where we're at right now, I would never have predicted Perfect Dark to not get released.
They seem to give a lot of effort to that.
Was Perfect Dark going to be great? I don't know.
Mhm.
I liked the gameplay demo they showed, but there's other people who didn't care for what they saw,
Yeah.
which is totally valid. Perfect Dark could have come out and been a flop, but I would have expected it to come out. It would have seemed like, oh, of course that's coming out.
Yeah.
It's their big game. They built a studio for it that is meant to rival the Naughty Dogs of the world.
And it's I always think of those comments that are always made when you hear these layoffs of how sad they feel and blah da da da. And I think to myself, what are you guys doing? Because again, Perfect Dark looked good. What was the reason why you canceled that when you put obviously so much effort into it? Whenever it would appear on some kind of whether it was a reveal trailer, it was always one of the bigger things that was announced back during, I want to say, the Game Awards, when we first saw that. It was certainly when they did the showcase.
Perfect Dark was announced at Game Awards. We saw the
Yeah.
gameplay last year
Yeah.
at their game, their Xbox Game Showcase.
Which, again, that was one of the big points of that showcase. Just the writing on the wall was not that they were going to let this game die before it came out. And so it just, why do they make the decisions they do? I always remember a lot of this seems to begin with the Redfall fiasco. Unless there's...
I think you take it all the way back to Scalebound.
Oh,
You know?
shit,
I
yeah.
mean, the entire state of Xbox Game Studios right now is 100% because of what happened with that Xbox One launch.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that,
it was the Xbox One launch as a whole,
and
yeah.
then it goes to Scalebound, and then it goes to what's happened this entire generation with the Series S and X and everything like that. So yeah, Redfall flopping, the very expensive and drawn out process of acquiring Activision Blizzard, and it's all of these things that just add up. You want to say death by 1,000 cuts, but these are not tiny cuts that you're taking. You know, these are massive, massive blows that you are taking as a publisher. And it sucks because they have the right idea. Consumer-friendly, consumer-based platforming. We're gonna give you really consumer-friendly processes like Xbox Game Pass. We're gonna give you really, we're gonna give you a slew of games that that range in quality.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them Redfall, some of them Doom: The Dark Ages, or and then we're gonna give
Helldivers 2.
That's not theirs.
Oh yeah, it's not.
What are you
You always
talking
think about it as it because that's
why?
I don't know
It's
because
it's not on an Xbox platform.
Yeah, I always think that. I don't know why because they had the recent news of them
They
coming to Xbox.
It's-
Yeah, so I was like,
it's a
like,
fucking-
oh, they're not-
we'll see how many players pick up Helldivers 2
Yeah.
on August 28th.
enough.
Anyways, it
Yeah, it was a weird one. I know.
And then, a bunch of other small artsy cool things that make you go, oh man, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening on the Xbox publishing side. And then you have great publishing deals that give them a lot of extra bonus points, like Claire Obscure, which, we've got a review coming for that game on this channel right now. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us for that. And then of course their Xbox Play Anywhere program where you can carry your save and stream wherever you want, all that. All of that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, we'll talk again about more of that on the next story.
Yeah, it's all fucking great, right? But then they just can't get the games out, which means they can't get the profit in. And when they do get the games out, it's a 50-50 shot on if it's successful. And then you've got Microsoft as a whole, as a tech conglomerate, breathing down their neck trying to say cut, save, use AI,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like there's a lot of choices Xbox makes that make you as the gamer go, oh, I really like that. Oh man, this could be a new platform home for. It feels like every 8 to 10 months I sit here and I go, do I want to switch? Do I want to stop being on PlayStation, which has been very traditional, and become a bit of an Xbox gamer? Because they've got an ecosystem that I want to be a part of. But then they've just got business practices that make me go, I can't.
No trust.
There's nothing there. And you don't have the 10 out of 10 bangers. You just don't,
Mm-hmm. Even though PlayStation is moving away from more exclusive games, you could still kind of have that as a thing you could fall back on.
Listen,
Xbox
Final
has
Fantasy
nothing.
VII Rebirth came out on one platform last year. Astrobot came out on one platform last year.
Yeah.
Those were the greatest games of the year last year. And, Prince of Persia. But, I'm going to ride or die for that game.
You got to give it. Hey,
listen, man, that game
no
was
one else
great.
is going to.
No one else is going to.
No.
That studio doesn't exist anymore. Everything's awful all the time. Anyways, so this is just another example of it's hard to be excited for Xbox.
I haven't been excited for a while, so yeah.
But I have. And they keep disappointing me greatly. Moving on to maybe this will be exciting.
No.
Moving on to our final topic of the day. Connor, your second penny of the day. Take it away.
Microsoft's handheld, the ROG Xbox Ally, release date leaked. You say ROG or you say ROG? The proper.
It's supposed to be ROG, but I say ROG.
ROG, yeah.
Yeah.
Be quicker.
It sounds weird, though.
It does, yeah.
It's a weird thing, For some reason, I don't have that problem with GOG. It's the R. The
R
makes it...
I mean, you get like G,
Yeah.
you got the intersection with the O, and you got the other G. It's like alliteration.
There's a little bit of there's some
not
bookending
alliteration.
there that kind of works,
Okay, yeah.
ROG and then also ROG Xbox Ally.
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. We should call it the Asus ROG Ally Xbox. That sounds better. It actually does sound better. But
No, it doesn't. It's just another word.
oh, hey.
Oh, Phil's here.
Someone walked in with a bag. All right. But Deal Labs, a French community site focused on sharing deals and discount codes, uncovered the potential release date of October 16th, 2025 for the handheld console, the ROG Xbox Ally in the European market. I don't know if I should keep going. Or it's like,
I don't think it's getting picked up. Maybe it is.
hard to tell.
There you
Bill's coming. But the enhanced version, the Xbox Ally X, will supposedly release the same day, although Deal Labs cautions this won't necessarily mean the release will apply to non-European markets. It's expected the release will be officially announced by Xbox at a Gamescom event being held in Germany from August 20th to 24th, and will include the announcement of pre-orders being made available on the 20th. Prior leaks back in June from leaker XTAS1S indicated the release would be scheduled for sometime in October, helping to reinforce the leaked details. Along with the release date, we now have an estimate of how much the devices will cost, with the Xbox Ally going for €599 and the Ally X going for a whopping €899. It's very likely prices will be higher in U.S. markets, especially due to the volatile tariffs being implemented by President Donald Trump. It's heavily believed Hollow Knight Silksong will release along with the Xbox Ally, although developer Team Cherry insisted the game isn't tied to a console release and will arrive at a time before the holidays, aka Christmas. This conflicts with comments made by Xbox President Sarah Bond, who noted the game would be, quote, available at launch, end quote. The Xbox Ally is being designed in partnership with the hardware developer Asus as part of an effort by Microsoft to be, quote, not locked to a single store or tied to one device, by establishing the company's Windows operating system as a gaming platform. That damn dog.
She's excited. She's happy Phil's here,
Yes.
I don't think it's I think you're being more dramatic. I don't think it's being caught up, but we'll see.
It just sounds so goddamn loud for me.
It is quite loud.
But yeah, we got the release date, we got the price. Kind of bad timing. We were going to get it here in a couple days anyway. So is this really usable? Is this really
I don't know why they're holding on to it.
What?
I don't know why they're holding on to it.
Held on to
why do we not know this information already?
Because they want to do their big showcase. They like their big showcase and their big things in their big face.
I guess, but not a lot of run up, not a lot of lead up to it. Why didn't we have this, last month at the Xbox Game Showcase, when you announced it or whatever, or was it last month before?
Sometime about, yeah.
Time is hard to keep track of. Yeah, I don't know. Cool.
Yeah,
Hey, look, it's expensive for a number of reasons, and it could be potentially even more expensive than we were expecting because of politics. Okay,
I think that's very likely. I mean, I always talk a little bit about politics every now and then, but recently Japan had a tariff of 15% put on it, and that apparently wasn't as bad as, for example, Nintendo was thinking it was going to be, and so there wasn't, at the time, they said, need for a price increase. Well, about a couple of days after that news broke, and I don't know if this is still going to continue to happen, shows how just sporadic these decisions seem to be. The tariffs are now 25%. So we could expect a price increase there, and I feel like with how that's going, we can expect a price increase here. But will we? I don't know. They're trying to make their big gaming platform be Windows, so maybe they want to at least eat the bullet, bite the bullet.
I don't understand the hardware is not manufactured in Japan.
Yeah, but it's more just tariffs as a general thing, and that causing some problem. You can't foresee these problems, is the point, because they just flip on a dime, and you'll never know when that's going to happen. So, for all you people that are just dying, waiting for bated breath for the Xbox Ally, hope it's not too expensive.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah, it's gonna be very-
I mean, it's already a pricey piece of tech.
It is.
So it is what it is. But it looks cool.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I would like to have one, but
I
don't got the money for that. So
you'll never be able to play Steam wherever you want.
Unless I want to use some of these, student loan funds to buy one, which, seems like a fun idea. Doesn't seem like a smart idea. I've already got debt. I should probably focus on debt.
Yeah, and especially because you're saying it on a camera.
Who gives a fuck? They gave it to me.
Whatever organization looks after what you use that money for. They're watching.
They don't live. It's a loan. I can use them for whatever the fuck I want.
You're not signing anything that makes it to where you have to use it certain ways. You just get it.
Pretty much.
Okay. Well.
I mean, it goes to the school first.
Yeah.
And they pay the school stuff, and then the rest comes to me.
Yeah, they just use that to buy a console.
You know?
Get the expensive one. I never did student loans. I don't know the process.
Someone's got a rich mommy.
Mm-hmm. Not even rich, but just more money than people who have to go through student loans. That's for sure.
Congratulations to you. Yeah. My parents chose to hate each other 10 years earlier, you know? Moving on. No, actually,
We are
that's
moving
it.
on, yes.
We're it.
We're moving on. Yeah.
I'm tired, man. It's already. I got 2 more shows to do.
Don't worry. This next show we're gonna do. Well, you guys don't know this.
You know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your Penny Gamescast episode 262. Thank you so much for watching and listening along. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment down below on all of today's topics so that we can use your input for an audience 2 pennies next week. And as always, until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Bye. Hi.